ongoing standoff between the European Union and Poland heated up this Wednesday as the bloc's top court ordered the country to pay €1 million per day in fines over violations of the EU's rule of law. Well, for more details, we can cross live to our Brussels correspondent, Dave Keating. Dave, what specifically is the EU fining Poland for in this case?
Well, this fine concerns a disciplinary chamber that's been set up by the right-wing nationalist government in Poland. Critics say that disciplinary chamber, that its purpose is to get rid of judges who don't toe the ruling party line or to intimidate judges into toeing the ruling party line. In July, the European Court of Justice, the EU's Supreme Court, agreed with those critics and found that the law is a political interference by the government into Poland's judiciary and therefore violates EU law, ordering Poland to dismantle that disciplinary chamber. At first, it looked like the Polish government was going to defy that order, but then Warsaw said, okay, we will dismantle this court. The problem is they're slow walking that. They haven't actually done it. They haven't even introduced legislation to do it. Last week, the Polish Prime Minister, Mateusz Morawiecki, told the European Parliament that they are still on track to dismantle that disciplinary chamber. But frankly, at this point, members of the European Parliament don't really believe him. So the Commission had asked the ECJ to issue this fine, this daily fine, in order to make Poland actually do what it said it would do, which is dismantle that court. Now, this type of daily fine is not unusual. It is the usual thing that happens if a member state of the EU is not following an ECJ order. It is very unusual, however, for these fines to actually be applied because member states usually follow ECJ rulings.
Now, how has Poland responded to the announcement of these fines?
Well, we haven't gotten a direct response yet from Warsaw. We did have Beata Szydło, who is the leader of the ruling Law and Justice party in the European Parliament. She said that this ruling shows that the EU institutions are not interested in dialogue, that they're only interested in putting pressure on Poland, and that this will not help the overall atmosphere. Now, it should be noted, Poland is already not paying an ECJ-issued fine that was issued last month. That is for €500,000 a day for its failure to close the Turo coal mine in the south of the country. Now, €500,000 a day is not very much for a government, nor is €1 million a day, frankly. And for Poland, the Turo coal mine, I think the government is rationalizing that, look, they make more money from that Turo coal mine than $500,000 a day will cost them. This situation is a little different because keeping that disciplinary chamber doesn't actually get them any money. So this could really rack up, and it's to delay doing something which the government has said it would do anyway. So the big key question is whether this motivates Poland to immediately start dismantling that disciplinary chamber. It should be noted that the EU can get this money one way or another. A Commission spokesperson confirmed today that they can actually withhold this amount of money from Poland's normal EU budgetary receipts, so that, like any member state, Poland receives money from the EU budget, and that this daily amount could be withheld from that amount by the Commission.
And what does this all mean for Poland's position in the EU?
I mean, it is further tension in the relationship. I mean, this is all separate from the Constitutional Tribunal in Poland ruling earlier this month that the national government doesn't have to follow ECJ rulings. Now, the timing of that was obviously because they were preparing for this fight, and they want to set a precedent that member states can just ignore the EU Supreme Court. Other national governments in the EU don't like that. This all came to an explosive row at the European Council summit last week with other prime ministers, mostly from Western Europe, saying that Poland's actions here represent a fundamental challenge to the EU's legal order, and that if the government stays on this path, it could mean that Poland has to leave the EU. If Poland isn't willing to abide by the rules of its accession treaty when it joined the EU in 2004, then it could put it on the road to the exit. Now, that's not something the Polish people want. Only 8% of people in Poland want the country to leave the EU, according to polls. And the national government, the nationalist government also says it is not for leaving the EU. It is not for so-called poll exit. It's calling all of this talk about poll exit fake news. But the point is not that the government wants Poland to leave the EU. The point that others in the EU are making is that if the government doesn't relent here and doesn't accept the primacy of EU law, it could leave it with no choice but to have to leave the European Union, either voluntarily or by force from other countries.